Kids Podcast.
You can go slow.
A kids podcast about.
Hello, my name is Ari, and I'm a producer for podcasts here at A Kids Company About. We're on a mission to empower a generation of kids through diverse storytelling. And we're doing this through podcasts like the one you're listening to right now. Check out all our books, podcasts, and classes by visiting akidscode.com.
What is fear?
Fears, it's complicated because we all feel it so much, so often that I think we forget what it is and what it looks like and what it feels like when it shows up. That can be, that little sort of nervous energy before you or go, to an important event or have an important call or your first day of school. It can also be that, that thing you feel when you see a spider in the corner and you're wondering, is it poisonous? Is it going to move? Is it going to come bite me? Who's going to come kill this thing, right? And then I think it can also be a worry about the future. What will happen when I grow up? Or what is it like to turn 40? Or will I still have this job? Or, when I go to high school, will my friends still like me? Right? Or do these pants look good on me? I mean, it's so many things. And so I think fear is the feeling of being afraid and being unsure of what an outcome is and what might happen.
Welcome to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. I'm Matthew. I'm a teacher, a librarian, and I'm your host. Today, we're continuing our special series of episodes with the authors and illustrators of our A Little Book About series. We know that many of you listening have younger brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, neighborhood friends, and new to the neighborhood faces. And while this series is intended for kids ages 0 to 4, we know that many of you are the ones who read to those young learners. The topics we cover in this series are universal, which means they are the things that anyone, no matter the age, can connect to. Things like family and activism and sharing. So today, as we talk about the big things going on in your world, we're going to do so with an author-illustrator from our A Little Book About series.
Hi, my name is Jelani Memory. I'm a husband. I'm a dad of 6 kids, and I love books. Books are like my favorite thing in the world, and I just so happen to be the author of A Little Book About Fear.
So you were my first guest on this show when we talked about a kid's book about racism, and you come up almost without fail every single episode with all of these great authors who have connections to you. And we talked about racism, and racism is such a big thing. And yet somehow fear in this little book about feels even bigger. So I'd love to ask you, Jelani, what fear feels like to you.
Yeah, fear to me, I'll say a bunch of words that'll seem so obvious that they almost go without saying, but I think they must be said, which is fear is really scary. Fear disables you in a way where it's hard to think, it's hard to act, it's hard to do. Fear makes you doubt a lot, right? Can I do this? Will it work out if I do it? What happens if I don't do it? And so for me, I don't often feel afraid, to be honest. But when I do, I know it immediately because it's so crushing. It's so defeating. And you brought up my other book, A Kid's Book About Racism. I think racism has a lot to do with fear, is the fear of those who are sharing or expressing racist ideas. That's where that often comes from, is fear, and fear of the unknown, fear of the thing they don't understand, fear of what might happen. But also the result often in those who are having those racist ideas or attitudes or words expressed to them, it creates fear. Right? What's going to happen to me? What are they going to say next? Do they really believe that about me? So yeah, that's the best way that I can describe what it feels like to feel afraid.
I think that's great. And I think that fear, from my experience, is not a feeling that I like. As you said, when it comes on, I know when I'm feeling afraid, and I sort of do a self-check about why am I feeling this way? And I try to check to make sure that I'm safe and that everything around me feels safe. But it makes me ask why. Why do we feel fear? Do you know, Jelani? Do you have an idea of why we feel fear?
Well, I won't get all evolutionary, biology on you, but fear does help in a number of ways. It keeps us safe, right? When I was backpacking through the wilderness in Central Oregon, and my friend and I saw a rattlesnake, and it, rattled its tail, we felt fear, and that was good. This is the good kind of fear. It's the kind of fear that keeps you safe. It's the kind of fear that says, don't walk up to the rattlesnake and pet it, right? And so that's healthy. The problem comes when a friend doesn't text us back right away, right? And we feel afraid. We feel fear, wondering, do they not like me anymore? Are they mad at me? Did I say something wrong? And we start attaching the unknown, that void, that fearful place to things that it shouldn't belong to. And so I think part of growing up, part of maturing, is letting yourself be afraid when it is good and when it's healthy, and letting that be a positive experience, right? Not getting bit by the rattlesnake, and knowing when to let fear go, when to not embrace it, when to cast it aside. And that's a tough thing, but I think it's a muscle that we can flex and get better at over time if we teach ourselves how to do it, so that we become just a little less afraid when that text doesn't come through right away, because we tell ourselves, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're not available. Maybe they're asleep and it's not about me, and that's okay, right? And that self-talk, that teaching ourselves, takes away the fear. And then when the outcome happens, when we get to that future point and they aren't mad at us and it's all good, right? The thing didn't break. Then we go, oh yeah, that's good. Like, I didn't feel fear and it turned out okay, right?
I know those feelings, those reinforcing feelings of, I'm okay, I got through that. Those are strength-giving feelings. I know that. I wonder for you, because fear is something we experience from before we can even remember. Babies feel fear. And the people that are listening to this podcast may have babies in their life, may have younger siblings. I'm sure almost without a doubt still experience fear, whoever is listening, no matter what age. So I wonder, as you were thinking about making this book, Jelani, what it was like for you to create a book for our youngest readers.
I think for me, it was really around the idea of starting early for the most fundamental and important conversations. And fear is fundamental. It's something we experience from birth to death, and it looks different and feels different, but it yet is still the same thing. And for me to explore it in my book was really about getting down to, what is it? How does it work? How can it be useful? And how can it get in the way of our happiness? How can it hijack us, if you will? And I tried to do that, getting to illustrate the book as well through line and shape, and I employ just, black and white as the sort of colors. And it's I don't know, it was fascinating to navigate it and explore it. And I think what I'm really happy about and proud of with my book is that I think, and I've watched this, you can read it with a toddler and their eyes automatically go to the stark contrast of the shapes and the objects. And look, they don't have to pick it all up, right? That's not the point of it necessarily. But I know the adult is there. And since fear is so universal, no matter what the age is they have to think about their own fears, right? What fears are useful and which ones are not so useful, which ones get in the way of them being able to be happy, being able to be fulfilled. And the activity of having that happen with a often parent and child is really powerful, because fear is often so related with raising a child, right? With helping a little life grow up. I remember my son, just watching him in his crib, just like watching him breathe, just going like, keep breathing, and then, much earlier before he was born, my wife, had a few false starts with labor way too early. We're talking 20 weeks, 21 weeks, and feeling fear. Like, am I ever going to get to have a son? Is he ever going to make it past just, being born? So all that to say, I think it was an amazing experience, and I hope it's useful. I hope it's useful for the kid, right? 0 to 4, or for that parent who's there, who maybe is just starting to think about their own fears.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite spread in the book, Jelani? I have a favorite spread I'll tell you after you share.
So this one's really easy, and it's the one I agonized over the most, and yet it seems almost the simplest. It's the one with all the sort of squiggly lines. It says, fear is like a little voice inside you that tells you something bad might happen. And I tried to express that idea of navigating all those voices in your head. And it just looks like, a black crayon scribbled on the page, but I think it came off quite beautifully.
You share later, or petting a puppy because you're afraid it might lick you. And our family, I don't know that you and I have ever talked about our family having so many food allergies and also allergies to animals. In fact, an allergy that made us have to make the easy decision ultimately to rehome our dog because our newborn son was allergic to our dog. And our daughter is also now allergic to pets as well. And we were dog sitting this weekend. And I always think about how when you have a fear of something, it makes it look completely different to you than it does to other people. And that becomes a really interesting thing to be able to think of how if someone else is afraid of this, I wonder what they're seeing and how I can help them with what they're seeing. Anyway, I think you made a beautiful book, Jelani. I'm really proud of you in making this book and the way that you shared what fear is and how we might confront it or be in relationship to it in this book. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, well, thanks for the kind words. And it was really a treat to work on. And hey, look, my first authored and illustrated book.
I think that's something to maybe be a little afraid of, but also know you got through it. You did it. So, hey, to close our time together, I'd love to know if there's a message about fear that you'd like to leave with our listeners. You want to share with them just a final thought for them.
Yeah, it's that you don't have to feel afraid every time you feel afraid. Sometimes you get to choose. Not every time, but sometimes you get to choose by looking into the future and saying, instead of what if something bad, what if something good? What if something great? What if something amazing? And talk yourself into a place where you're no longer afraid about that future, but you're maybe a little bit excited.
And now, read to you in its entirety, here is A Little Book About Fear by Jelani Memory.
A Little Book About Fear by Jelani Memory. Have you ever felt afraid? Sometimes fear can feel like a little voice inside you that tells you something bad might happen. Other times, it's a big, loud voice telling you that you're in danger. Feeling afraid can be scary, but it can also be really good because fear can help keep you safe. Like when something is hot and you're afraid you might get burned if you touch it. But fear can also keep you away from something important to you, like singing your favorite song because you're afraid someone will think it's silly, or petting a puppy because you're afraid it might lick you. Fear is meant to help you and keep you safe. That's good. But don't let feeling afraid keep you from exploring, discovering, and doing what you love. The end.
Thank you to Jelani Memory, author, illustrator of A Little Book About Fear, for joining us today. You can learn more about this book and others like it by visiting akidsbookabout.com. A Kid's Book About, the podcast, is written, edited, and produced by me, Matthew Winner, with help from Chad Michael Snavely and the team at Sound On Studios. Our executive producer is Jelani Memory, and this show was brought to you by a kids podcast about. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are found. And if you like this episode, consider sharing it with a friend, teacher, or grown-up. Join us next week for a conversation about family with Stephen Green and Edmund Holmes, author and illustrator of A Little Book About Family.
Hello, everyone. Ari here. I'm so glad you're here with us listening to this podcast. But today, I wanted to share some fantastic book news. We have a whole bunch of new books in our Kids Book About series shipping soon. And the topics include boredom, identity, leadership, and more. Check them out and pre-order a copy for your home, a friend, or a library by visiting akidsbookabout.com.